Hello and welcome to this short presentation on self-publishing opportunities for paralegals and paralegal students. My name is Brian Craig and I'm a professor in the School of Legal Studies at Purdue University Global. Uh, the self-publishing industry has seen a huge growth in recent years. Platforms such as Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing and others have created lots of opportunities for authors to be able to promote and sell their books without going through traditional publishers. Self-publishing platforms and open access to books provide a lot of different advantages to authors. And some of those advantages include easier access to publication than going through the formal publishing route, which can sometimes be challenging, especially for new authors. So Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing and other print-on-demand publishers have created these new and additional opportunities for self-publishing. We've also seen a growth with e-readers like iPads or Kindle Fire and even phones that have also accelerated opportunities for self-publishing as an option. So self-publishing is basically defined as to publish a book using the author's own resources. Sometimes the self-published work is also called independently published. And again, it's rather than going through a traditional publisher, one of the big New York publishing houses, going through a publishing through one's own efforts. Now, it is important to be aware of vanity presses. A vanity press or a vanity publisher is a publisher that charges a fee to produce a book and that requires the author to buy something as a condition of publication, such as finished books. And there are some self-publishing services which charge fees, but then uh, vanities or vanity presses will sometimes present themselves as real publishers. So it's important just to beware if you are seeking to self-publish that there are these companies and just be aware, read the terms and conditions of any contract that you sign, especially if you're required to buy a minimum number of books as a condition of becoming an author. Aspiring authors sometimes resort to hybrid or vanity press companies that sometimes use unscrupulous practices, such as charging really high fees or accomplishing little or low quality work and denying authors agency and full rights in the final disposition of a book. So just be aware of that. Uh, so we've seen a lot of growth with e-publishing and self-publishing after the COVID-19 pandemic. We saw a greater adoption of ebooks, fewer independent booksellers, and unfortunately, we've seen the close of some of those independent, brick and mortar bookseller stores. We've seen more competition for Amazon, which again is the 800-pound gorilla in the publishing industry. We've seen a new world for virtual marketing and additional opportunities there. We've seen domination of print on demand publishing and proliferation of author publishers, and definitely seeing a rise in that. So, self-publishing platforms offer a lot of advantages to authors and aspiring authors. Easier pathway to publishing, uh, and it can be very difficult. Even some of the best published authors, like John Grisham, had a very hard time getting his first book published. Allows authors more editorial control, and you don't have a publisher or editor telling you, what to include or what not to include. The author gets to decide, which having more autonomy is an advantage. And also, the author has a greater percentage of the royalties. Uh, so they can set the price and then they can determine, have a greater percentage of royalties versus, traditional publisher, author might get 10 to 15% of royalties or something like that versus with self-publishing, can get a very large percentage of those royalties. There are some disadvantages of sub-publishing. Lack of marketing and editorial support that traditional large publishers, getting a book signing at Barnes and Noble might be difficult, right? And sometimes perceived lack of reputation. There are some really good self-published books out there, but then there are some that are really poorly uh, worded and don't have quality editorial content and things like that. So those are just some of the advantages and disadvantages with self-publishing. Just to give a couple sample titles in the paralegal field, there was a self-published book called The Little Black Book of Paralegal Wisdom. from a paralegal, just sharing tips from a successful career as a paralegal. And then there's another self-published book called Behind Every Good Lawyer is an Amazing Paralegal. So those are just a few sample titles of self-published books that you can find on Amazon of uh, paralegals, and really is a great resource. And again, you can use those as an example. What about AI in terms of self-publishing and publishing? Well, AI can be a tool that allows for anyone to be able to generate text or images and video and audio with simple prompts. It can be a tool, but be cautious of using AI with self-publishing. And it can be a tool, but as with anything, you still want to verify your sources and still do original content. I'll just give you an example of a case involving AI. There was a case out of a federal case out of New York in the Southern District of New York, where the court issued sanctions upon two lawyers that used the AI tool Chat GPT, and where these lawyers cited cases that did not exist. And the court issued Rule 11 sanctions against those lawyers for filing those documents of bad faith. And the court again issued a $5,000 fine and required the lawyers to issue apology letters to the judges that they cited for those cases. And so just be aware, that AI may create fictitious cases and other sources, what's called hallucinations under that. So just be aware that those uh, tools exist, but you want to use those with caution. So that's just a short overview about self-publishing opportunities with among paralegals and paralegal students. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks so much.